Thanks for joining us here on the Peet and Reet Show. And we're going to do a little nostalgia before we get into this amazing guest that we have on the show, right?
We are. Well, the amazing guest has a husband who was amazing and fabulous songwriter. And so he was born in 1921. So I thought we'd look at a little bit of things that happened in 1921.
Just a few years ago.
Just a few years ago. Average cost of a house was $6,500 that year. Average wage was $3,600, so about half.
Okay, so it's about half.
Right.
Yet nowadays, you get paid the average of $27,000. You have to pay $400,000 for a house. So they've been lying to us.
It's not working. Yeah. Model T Ford came out, and it was $260 that year.
You see, that's amazing to me, because you look at the price of cars now, and you look at something that was invented brand new that would be something that only very few people could afford, and that's pretty cheap, actually.
Wonder Bread came out that year, and it was 6 cents a loaf. Babe Ruth was the #1 candy.
Because he was the #1 ball player, right?
Of course. Most popular music artist, Al Jolson.
Wow.
And Albert Einstein won the Nobel Prize for Physics. And the Ottawa, I was going to say Senators.
Yeah.
Ottawa won the Stanley Cup, beating the Vancouver Millionaires that year.
That's crazy.
Isn't that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I just thought
now, if you were a millionaire, like you were like a multi-billionaire, obviously, with those prices.
I don't think they were millionaires, but hey, it was Vancouver, you know.
All right, so who was born back then?
Well, Hal David, the famous songwriter. I mean, he's
lyricist, right?
Lyricist, yep.
And he didn't want to be known.
No, he didn't.
When you find out what songs he wrote, you're going to be amazed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we are going to interview, and we have on the line with us his beautiful wife, Eunice David.
Hi, Eunice. How are you?
Hi, Pete. Hi, Reet.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Oh,
I'm just doing great. Looking forward to talking with you.
Now, we're going to go through some information. Reet, you got some information here on Eunice, which is impressive in itself.
yes, you are an amazing woman as well. I mean, you know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You do tons of community work, I read. You're on numerous boards, like the Board of Governors for Cedars-Sinai Hospital. You were married for 25 years. That in itself is a feat. And you've written numerous travel journals and also done another novel called High Rise Lowdown. But your current thing is all about your husband, and it's called Hal David, His Magic Moment. So
that's right. I'm very excited about the book.
All right, so what inspired you, besides your husband, to write that book?
Well, one of the things, when I first met Hal, I didn't know I asked him what he did for a living. So when he told me he was a songwriter, I asked him if I would recognize any of his songs. He said he would, he told me he'd send me a book that had some of his lyrics in it. So it wasn't until the next day that I knew whom I had met. But when I called my son to tell him I'd met this interesting man with a strange profession, a songwriter, I said, you know the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, don't you? And Donald said, oh, Mom, don't tell me you're dating Burt Bacharach. Well, my son Donald and myself and many others thought that Burt Bacharach had written all those wonderful songs by himself. So one of the reasons I wanted to write the book was to let people know that the lyric writer was just as important to a song as the composer.
Absolutely. You know, it's funny, Eunice, because a couple of weeks ago, Reet and I were taping a show, and we were in front of a piano, and we were singing Raindrops. It's crazy that we didn't even know we were going to be interviewing you, right?
Exactly. That's the first song. That's the first song I ever sang in public, and it was in grade 3 for a talent show. So, but I thought it was written by Burt Bacharach as well. I didn't know.
We both did, and that's when we said, "Oh, this is a Burt Bacharach song." And then you find out the man behind who was trying to hide, and all the amazing songs that he wrote.
Yeah, he was very prolific.
Sure was. I mean, he's had tons of stuff. I mean, not only Raindrops, but I'll Never Fall in Love Again, Do You Know the Way to San Jose? And one of my all-time favorite songs, Walk On By, is just an amazing song. I mean, he's done, it's so beautiful.
Fifth Dimension sang some of his songs as well.
Yeah. I mean, so where do you think all that, because he had such passion in his songs, like Walk On By and Raindrops and Close to You, those songs really have like heart and vision, and they're just so beautiful. Where do you think that came from?
Well, how really, he was a lover. He just was a beautiful man inside and out, and I think it just came from his heart. And he always said that he tried to write lyrics that were, the words were easy. He didn't want anything complicated. And he wanted everybody to be able to understand the words, to sing the words. And I think he accomplished that.
You know what I found amazing with it when I found out the songs he wrote is that they're so varied. You know, usually a composer will get into a certain genre of music and write a certain way, right? But I mean, if you look at the music he's written and who he's worked with, it's everything.
Well, that's absolutely true. The funny thing is, he was writing country songs when he didn't even know they were country songs. And some of them climbed the charts way up to the top. For example, one of the first songs that Burt and Hal wrote together was called The Story of My Life. It was sung by Marty Robbins, and that just went bananas. And then later in life, he wrote a song with Albert Hammond called To All the Girls I've Loved Before, which was sung by Julio, Iglesias, and Willie Nelson. And that became a major country hit.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I thought Willie Nelson wrote that song.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he made it so popular, you know? It's amazing. It's amazing that somebody in his position, and I saw pictures of the people you've met and, you know, hung out with, and I mean, wow, it's pretty impressive, for him not to be so well known and have that kind of notoriety.
Well, it's interesting. It seems that many of the lyricists are not as well known as the composers, because frequently the composers, Burt, of course, being one of them, are performers in their own right. So they're out there, their name is known, and people talk about their songs where it's really a joint effort.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, you can't have, you can have the music, but you got to have great lyrics to go with it to make it a #1 song.
You bet.
We are talking to Eunice David on the Peet and Reet Show, and when we come back, we're going to find out how she met Hal.
Peet and Reet here, and we're talking with Eunice David all about her new book called Hal David, His Magic Moment.
And he was an incredible lyricist. Now, we talked briefly about how you guys met, and it was at a tennis court in Los Angeles, but I mean, was it like goo goo gaga when you first saw him?
I had no idea who he was. I asked him what he did for a living.
That's awesome. So did it take...
I had never met anyone who was a songwriter before, so that was really new for me.
Was he shy?
He was not. I wouldn't call him shy, but he didn't brag. And when I asked him if I would recognize any of his songs, he just said, "Well, there's a book with my lyrics. I'll see that you get a copy of it." And he was that way with everyone. If they didn't already know his work, he let someone else speak for him.
So now, were you attracted to him? This is a tough question. I see that.
Yeah, you caught me there. Actually, I found, even though we were playing tennis, we went to dinner afterwards with the other couple who had introduced us, and I found Hal very easy to talk to. We had both been widowed. We had a lot in common, and it was just as though I'd known him forever. because we just kept talking and we completely forgot about the other couple who were with us.
So how long did you date before he asked you to marry him?
We only went out for a couple of months before he asked me to marry him. And I decided I wanted to wait a year in deference to my late husband. And my friends all said, "Are you kidding? If that guy wants to marry you, do it." But Hal understood how I felt. And we traveled a lot before we got married. We were in New York, in Europe, all over the place. And it worked out just fine. And we did get married just about almost a year exactly after we met.
Where did you get married at?
We married in New York. Hal was still a resident of New York at that time. I was a resident of Los Angeles. So we traveled back and forth between the two cities.
And then what did you do for a living?
Well, at the time I met him, I wasn't working, but my last paid job was as I did zoning for the city of Valencia in Valencia, California, north of San Fernando Valley. We built a whole new city on 44,000 acres of land that the Newhall Land and Farming Company had owned. It had all been agriculture, so we built it into single-family, multi-family, some businesses. It was just a complete, full-functioning city.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
you've done a lot.
That was my last job.
So you've done a lot in your life. I mean, you're doing zoning, and you're a journalist, and you're on a board of different companies. I mean, you've done a lot.
I have, but I like to keep busy.
Yeah. Now, he was a lyricist, and of course they write a lot of romantic kind of stuff. Was he a romantic?
He was very romantic. In fact, he used to write some funny lyrics for me, which could not be published, could not be mentioned on the air. But we both had a lot of fun with that.
Well, this book you've written is an awesome book. I've heard nothing but great reviews, and of course you just did a book signing that went crazy for you a few weeks ago. Tell us about the book.
Well, I just, after Hal passed, I'm sure anybody else who's become a recent widow or widower would have a similar feeling. I couldn't sleep. I didn't know what to do with myself. So I just sat down at the computer and started writing our life's history together. And the more I wrote, the better I felt. It kept me close to Hal. And I just, then as I really got into it, then I really wanted to finish it because I wanted people to know about him. And I knew even reading my book, he wasn't going to become as famous as Burt Bacharach, but I wanted to get his name out there. I wanted people to know who he was and how he felt about things.
Well, it's a beautiful book, and I think it's going to do extremely well.
Yeah, where can people get the book if they're looking for it?
Oh, it's easily available on Amazon, either in Kindle or in hardcover.
So, do you read it often?
Oh, I do. As a matter of fact, I do. And as I was writing it, I'd keep rereading it. And then, of course, it had to be proofread. So I can quote it almost word for word.
Yeah. Do you read it? Are you like most writers where you, or actors even, that you read something and go, I could have said that a better way?
Oh, for sure. For sure. In fact, I've been going around doing a lot of book signing parties and giving talks about the book. And every time I do one, I think to myself, oh, why didn't I change that? Why didn't I say this a different way? So I'm constantly critiquing myself.
Yeah, we do that too here.
Yeah. That's a never-ending story here.
Yeah.
I got to tell you something. I am so glad that you wrote this book. I'm so glad that you joined us on the show because, just for me, and it's just been in the last couple of weeks that I realized myself who wrote some of these amazing songs that we loved, right? And I'm so glad you wrote the book and are telling people about it.
I'm a singer, and I've sang most of these songs many times, and I just absolutely love them.
Well, thank you. I love hearing that.
Listen, we're heading out to... Go ahead.
I must say that when Dionne Warwick sings Hal's songs, Hal and Burt's songs, she is always good about giving credit to Hal, and they were great pals. And she's remained a good friend of mine to this day.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Before we let you go, tell me, what's your favorite song?
My favorite Hal David song is "To All the Girls I've Loved Before."
There you go.
I think it may have something to do with Julio Iglesias and Willie Nelson singing it. But I love that song.
Now,
Awesome.
Who was he writing about? Himself, or was it about Julio and Willie?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Who was he writing that song about?
Well, he wrote it many years ago. The composer, Albert Hammond, sang it himself, and it didn't go over too well. Albert didn't like the way it came out. Humperdinck recorded it. Engelbert, thank you. Humperdinck recorded it. It was not released. Bobby Vinton recorded it.
Wow.
Hal thought the song was a goner. But one day, Albert asked Hal to send the lyrics over to him. And it just so happened that Willie Nelson happened to walk into the office. And he saw the lyrics, and he said to Albert, "Oh, I've always wanted to sing a Hal David song." But Albert said, "Well, this is meant for Julio Iglesias." And Willie said, "Well, that's not a problem. I love to do duets." So that's how it came about.
Beautiful.
Wow.
Listen, Eunice, we are coming out to Los Angeles very soon, and we would love to actually sit down with you and have you on camera with us in the future.
You just give me a call. I'll be ready.
All right.
Awesome. And much success with your new book, Hal David, His Magic Moment.
Well, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show, and so enjoyed that. Right?
Oh, it's great.
And I know there's lots more that we can talk about when we go to LA. We are definitely
Oh,
stopping by.
definitely.
I look forward to meeting you in person. In the meantime, Peet and Reet, thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. And we will see you next time on the Peet and Reet Show.
Thanks, Eunice.
That was
awesome.
amazing.
Well, thank you. You are terrific. And I would love to see you in LA. Just give me a call.
Yeah, we are, and we're going to come out there and see Mr. Gutman too, because he's got some neat things around the
I'm sure he does.
Thank you, honey. Thank you so much.